Hey guys, welcome back to Our Vision Farm. I've been meaning to transplant some things here that I noticed the roots were starting to stick out through the bottoms. We have the lupines. They seem to be in all different stages. I'm not sure why. Obviously some did not germinate, but some are just now hatching out the shell, and then some like these are super tall. But I'm going to go ahead and try to transplant them out of here into these bigger pots. And this is the dirt that I'm using. I just bought it off of a hardware store that we have here in Maine. So I'm going to transplant those lupines, and then these are thyme. So these germinated really nice. Every single little square that I planted some in, it seems like every seed had sprouted. I did sprinkle seeds in here, like multiple ones, and that is what they're looking like. These are also have roots that are sticking out of the plastic at the bottom. So I'm going to transplant them so that they bush out and get a little bit bigger in these pots, and I believe we are going to be planting these in our garden later on in the season, but in the meantime they'll get a lot bigger in these pots. So I'm going to get that started, and I'm also going to show you an update on how our honeyberries are doing in the other room. Alright, so before we do the Haskap berry update, here is how our Carmine Jewel cherries are doing. Like I mentioned in the last update for these, all of the leaves turned yellow and fell off, and we had to move them to a warmer area in our house, and now they're doing beautifully. This one is like the most one with the biggest leaves, and then the other ones, this is how they are looking. So they're just now starting to bud out and regrow their leaves. So back here I have the mint growing. I ended up planting that a second time in the same little pots, and they are finally growing. I think some of the old leaves are also growing in there. Not the leaves, the old seeds. The original ones I planted probably got mixed up with the new ones, and they're all kind of growing at different stages in there. And here is just different type of peppers. We're trying to test out germination, as well as onions. Here's the rest of the Carmine Jewel cherry trees. So those are super happy, but they did go through a little trouble in the beginning where we thought we had lost them because they just completely lost all their leaves. You can see some of the older leaves here, but they're doing good now. This was rosemary. Very poor germination on it, but they are just now starting to sprout. So we'll see. I planted this whole tray in rosemary, and maybe it's not poor germination, maybe it's just that it's very slow germination, because this one has 3 of them right in there. So let's go ahead and check out the Haskap berries, the honeyberry plants that I have. So honeyberries are still doing really good here. They've withstood withstood a lot of cold weather that we had, to the point where like the soil would be frozen solid in these cups, but the actual plants and the green leaves on them have not been affected at all. We're starting to see some more flowers. So the original one that started flowering was this tall one right here. And we've noticed some little tiny berry buds. It's probably not going to be possible to see it, but I did share some photos on Facebook. But it does have little tiny berry buds, so that's kind of exciting. I don't know if in the size of this pot they'll even have berries, but at least we know that the stock that these were grown from was more mature plants. So once we get these into the ground, they should start fruiting within the first couple years. I just noticed this one flowering too. So what I've been doing is kind of hand pollinating them. I have 3 different honeyberry varieties, so I've been hand pollinating them with each other just to see, because out in nature these would be pollinated by bees, but since we're keeping them indoors for now, I've just been doing that myself. Here's another one. So I wanted to show you an update on that. These are still doing good. The Carmine Jewels are bouncing back now as well. And then the kiwi berries. The kiwi berries came out of dormancy. I'm not sure if I showed it in the last video, but after they came out of dormancy, we had another little cold snap, and although we were keeping them inside of our living room by the window, it got really cold in there one night, so it killed all of the new growth, the bright green leaves that it had. So now I'm waiting for those to regrow back again. They're starting to bud out again, so I'll show you that once those recover. The same thing happened as the Carmine Jewels. But so far, out of the 3 varieties, the Haskap berries have definitely won for being resilient and very cold hardy. Even the cold does not affect the green parts or the flowers, or as we can see, even the little berry buds. So that is the update for this one, for the Haskap berries. And I believe we're going to be planting them into the ground at some point after like Memorial Day weekend. That's when it's safe here in Maine to plant things into the ground. So we're going to prep the areas that we're going to start our rows on for these and get them in the ground and just watch them grow from there for this summer, spring and summertime through the fall. And then these will naturally go into dormancy, I believe, in the fall time. So I'm looking forward to getting these in the ground and seeing how fast they grow after they're in the ground, because look how tall and how much they have grown ever since we just transplanted the plugs into these cups. But I've been working on painting the inside of the farm shop. I'm not going to show how that comes out until we're completely done. With that project, I want to show how, kind of like a before and after of how it came out. So I'm going to leave that as a surprise for when I finish it. Now that the snow has melted temporarily, because I think we might get some little tiny bit of snow tomorrow night. Nothing that's going to really gather up on the grass or anything, but just some little snow flurries. I'm not sure. The temperature's kind of fluctuating. The deer are back. I posted a video of these deer the other day. The temps have been fluctuating, but we're definitely on a false spring right now. It feels so good outside, and it just looks so pretty. It's like a whole different season. That's what I love about the seasonal changes, that it just feels like you're in a whole different world with every season. Everything looks so different in the fall time when we first moved here. Of course, everything looked completely different in the winter when everything was white and snowy. And now we're starting to see the first hints of spring creep up. And I can't wait till everything is in bloom and green, and we can start seeing our apple trees grow their little flowers. And once we get everything in the ground, that's going to be very exciting. We can finally see our garden area again. I've been checking because with the warmer weather, I definitely want to check for our garlic sprouting and our tulips and the other bulb flowers that we planted in here. So far nothing has poked up, but I've been carefully watching, because as you see, the deers, they just keep getting closer and closer. And we're going to be fencing this garden with electric fence, and we're going to try to get a setup that is big enough to cover our garden, plus right here where we're going to raise our meat chickens. I'd like to set up all of that with electric fence, so that way we're safe from the deer, hopefully, and then any other predators trying to get to our meat chickens, that'll protect them. But that is where we kind of left off before winter arrived. This is where we left off with our garden. We stopped here, but we're going to continue tilling as soon as everything completely thaws out. We're still going to continue stretching it back some, but this is the beginnings of our garden for this year, for this growing season. And we started super early growing our seeds indoors, so that once it's time to plant outside, we'll have some little established plants to go in here. And that way we could get a little bit of a head start, because we do have such a quick growing season, very short growing season, so we have to take advantage as much as possible. But of course, like everybody else, we're excited to get started inside of this garden and planting outside, starting our orchard planting and finishing our flower garden as well. That's another project that we have not finished, building garden boxes and setting up the areas where we're going to plant our flowers, filling up the garden boxes with sticks and leaves and twigs and whatnot, and then topping it off with garden dirt. So that we have so many projects to do, but they're gonna get done little by little, and we're trying to put the most important projects in line first. So most importantly for us was starting seeds as fast as we could, the ones that I kind of looked on the farmer's almanac and saw which seeds needed to be started on each month. So I'm following that calendar, and I have it all set up. So I've been starting seeds as early as February. We started planting some. Those are the ones that I've been transplanting now. And other than that, the meat chicken is going to be a huge project, the meat chicken business, because we have lots of customers anxiously waiting for that. So we definitely want to start that on year one. And then of course planting our fruit bearing trees, starting our orchard, and getting all that set up. Eventually this big wide field, I expect it to be like full of food. This garden area, like where I'm standing, we still have to till this area, but I'd like it to reach all the way back there. Maybe not right up to the woods, but this is going to be a huge vegetable plot once we're done with it. We just plan to add to it every single year and just continue to add natural and compost, natural materials, leaves, grass clippings, things like that. Regenerative gardening is what we want to focus on. So initially we are tilling to start it off with, but the end goal is not to have to till and re-till, just adding organic material on top of it, layering it, and eventually the soil will be even better than what it is now. So yeah, huge vegetable garden, and then the rest of the field is pretty much going to be orchards by the time we're done with it. We have the 148-ish Haskap berry plants that we're going to be planting, plus the 10 Carmine jewels, and of course we're going to add on to that every year, so it's not just going to be that, but that's what we're planning for the first year. And so this whole area in the back, instead of being a empty field of just grass, it's going to be food producing, and over the years we'll be able to plant more and more rows. The flower garden is going to be pretty awesome too, pretty much the same size of what we had in Florida, but a little bit bigger, and different flowers that we weren't able to grow in Florida we'll be able to try out here in Maine. The deer are heading to the forest again. I don't know if these are the same ones, but earlier we had a buck. I think these are females. Yeah, we had a buck in our yard earlier. But yeah, the deer have been coming around a lot. It's like they're waiting and plotting for things to start poking out of the ground. So electric fencing, we're gonna get that up. We're gonna figure out how we're gonna set up our meat chicken business and figure out what date it is that we have to order our first chicks, so that we have to raise them inside with a heat lamp at first, but I have to calculate when I can bring them outside once they're fully feathered out and when it's not going to be too cold for them. So that is some things we have to calculate. And pretty much the same, I think, goes for the plants after Memorial Day. That's probably the same rules that I have to follow for meat chickens, so that we don't get a random frost that kills our meat chickens once they are outside. So that is our updates for now. I'm super excited that the snow is gone, but it's probably going to come back 9 times out of 10, or maybe we'll get an early spring. We never know. That would be nice because we can get started even faster than expected, but we'll see what happens. I always enjoy looking at the sunset out here. I think we have one of the prettiest sunrises and sunsets on this property. We are also working on getting an RV hookup set up right here. Behind the large garage that we have an area here that is pretty flat and leveled. We might still have to level it a little bit better for RVs, but our plan is to have people, either short-term rentals, or if somebody wanted to stay here more longer term, I would always consider that as well. But I know one way to make extra income is we're setting up that RV spot so that people can hook up. We have the septic hookup right there ready. We're gonna get the electric put in, and then we also have a hose that we can just run for water. So that is something to look forward to, and this is the view that whoever stays here would have. They'd have these pretty sunrises and sunsets, and as we continue working on our orchard, they'll have all the view of that. Whether we do like the short-term rentals or whatever ends up happening, I just thought it would be a nice way to share our farm and also bring in some extra income. So that's the updates for today. I hope you guys continue to watch our channel and just see everything, all of our plans come to life and come to fruition. And slowly but surely, 1 year at a time, we will have this property with everything that we have talked about and imagined and dreamed of. So I encourage you guys to continue reaching for your stars and your dreams. It will eventually happen for you, and I'm excited to hear about your plans that you may have on your property, or if you haven't found your property yet, know that it is coming. It is being prepared for you. Just continue to pray about it and stay positive, and it will happen for you as well. Just stay on it, stay praying about it, and doing as much as you can in your situation now to get where you want to be. With that said, I will see you guys in the next update, and we will just continue sharing our journey and sharing everything that we are up to, especially now in the spring and summertime. We're going to be doing a lot more things outdoors. We've been kind of cooped up inside most of the season, but that is good because that's a time to rest and a time to plan. So we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the tunnel, and all of that planning and all of that resting will come into great use when it's time to get to work outside. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.